SCORE Northeast Wisconsin and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biztalk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences. From starting to sustaining growth, learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you miss anything, you can catch the Biztalk podcast at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biztalk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biztalk with SCORE on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense along with Terry Pinch this week. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, except for the fact late October came early, but I'll get back to biking in another week, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving any day now, right?
Yeah.
Weather's been tough. Yeah, it's been a change. Well, I'm really excited about today's program. I have the great honor of, by full disclosure, I need to let everybody know that our next guest used to be my boss. So I just want everybody to know that up front. But just really the great honor of having, I would like to think of her as not just my boss, former boss, but my mentor and good friend, Cathie Tierney, President and CEO of Community First Credit Union. Cathie, I know you well enough to know that you don't want me to go through your entire bio. You'd just rather talk through and share some wisdom. So let's get right to that, if that's okay.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Thank you both.
Community First Credit Union, for those folks that don't know Community First Credit Union, could you maybe give listeners a summary of what Community First is and what it provides to its membership?
You bet. We are blessed to be a locally owned cooperative financial institution. What sets us apart from other financial institutions is that we're owned by our members, not outside shareholders. So as a result, we're able to return all of the revenue and the profits that we make once expenses are covered back to our member owners. It's this concept of we're better together, and that results in fewer fees and more free services, lower loan rates, higher deposit rates, meaning that people earn more. Last year alone, we calculated a savings of over $43.7 million for folks who chose to do business at the credit union and be a member owner compared to banking at an average Wisconsin bank. So a full range of financial services. We like to pride ourselves on personalized high-touch service, plus all the bells and whistles of digital convenience. One of our claims to fame is that we still answer all of our telephones with real people. We don't have a call tree or something, press 1 for this or 4 for that. It's been my promise to the members, as long as I'm here, that's how we're going to do it. And I think people really respond and appreciate that. It's another thing that kind of sets us apart, that personal touch, along with offering all the latest and greatest financial tools and opportunities to make sure people have what they need to live their best life.
So what is Community First Credit Union's mission?
Our mission is to provide high-quality, competitive financial products and services that not only anticipate our members' needs, but meet their needs. And we want to be their primary financial institution. So when we think about it, the guiding principles that shape how we serve our members in the community is that member ownership and community focus. We like to say we're a community of member owners, and that people joining together to help improve their financial well-being and help one another is at the core of who we are. I mean, on the outside, we might look like any other financial institution, but that is truly a driving difference for us. We strive to be very strong and meaningful, a resource for our members, their families, and for our communities. And we love to provide passionate service, very personalized service. Years ago, we adopted a word, and we use that word as our focus, and it's meraki. It's a Greek word, and it means to do something with soul, creativity, and love. And it's how we choose to serve, putting our hearts into providing exceptional experiences, for our members and for the communities. And of course, our name sort of says it all, our commitment to the community of our member owners, but also the places they call home. And that pledge is really important to us, do right and to do good, not only by our members, but by our communities. We all thrive together.
So Community First has been around 50 years. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and the origin story of Community First is very interesting. It's a story of tenacity, ingenuity, business acumen, collaboration, and a lot of other things thrown in. Would you please share that story with our listeners this morning?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very unique story, not only here in the Midwest, but certainly in the nation when it comes to credit unions. Back in 1953, actually, the Outagamie County Employees Credit Union was established. The Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the National Credit Union Act back in 1934. And, over the course of time, it's this idea of people banding together to start their own financial institution owned by themselves, started to take root out on the East Coast primarily, and then moved into the rest of the country. And typically, credit unions were founded by groups of employees. They had a like-minded cause. They worked together. And our founder, Maury Dresang, worked at the county in the timekeeping department, actually, for the highway department. And he and several of his coworkers got together and they put in the money to get the first charter and then launched the credit union. He worked as a volunteer treasurer, all those for a number of years back in the 50s. And we have great stories of him calling up the nurses at the county sanitarium because they were net savers. And he'd call Eleanor Demerit and say, "Hey, Eleanor, do you have, can you gather up like $200? I have somebody who wants to make a loan." And it was literally that's simple and special. Gather up some money, make a loan, earn interest on the loan to help fund the rest of the business, and little by little, it grew. Back in the 70s, Maury was also then approached by Zwicker Knitting Mills, who had an office on Richmond Street, a plant, and had a credit union. They said, "Hey, would you help us? We need some help with our credit union." So he did that, and it wasn't long after that the Appleton Post Office credit union came to him and said, "Hey, we hear you do this. Can you help us?" None of them were big enough on their own to be able to afford to have an employee, a full-time employee. It was all done by volunteers. And of course, by that time, he was still working full-time, but managing these 3 credit unions. And he came up with this idea, well, none of us are big enough alone, but if we pooled our resources together, maybe we'd have enough wherewithal to be able to hire somebody, ostensibly him, and have an office. And they made it happen. He had to have the laws changed in the state of Wisconsin to allow it. But what happened was what the regulator termed as the supermarket of credit unions. So he established the first office, and the 3 credit unions joined forces under a holding company structure, which was really unheard of at the time. And he was the first full-time employee and hired a few more people over the course of years. And that's literally how the credit union got its start. Between 1970 and 1975, a number of other credit unions, 9 other credit unions, joined in when they heard about this. So Presto Products, Elm Tree Bakery, which was known then as Rich Products, the City of Appleton employees, Pierce Manufacturing, a number of company chartered credit unions asked to come and be a part of the center. And what happened over time was people sort of identified the center as the credit union, and they became less focused on, oh, I work for Kurz and Root, that's my credit union. I joined the organization in 1976, and it was really interesting because just before my joining, we had people come in off the street and say, well, I'd love to do business here. We were on Richmond Street. And we didn't have a way to enable them to do that. So in July of 75, Maury chartered the Appleton Community Credit Union to serve a broader perspective of the community. And that is what was sort of the foundation of what now is Community First. Because by 1978, we had 12 credit unions operating under the service center and the holding company structure. So it was a cool idea, but you can imagine 13 board meetings every month, 13 annual meetings every year. Over time, it just became a bit unwieldy, not impossible, but unwieldy. So he had another idea, and that's, well, what if we put them all together into one entity? There wasn't a mechanism to do that in the state of Wisconsin. So he, again, had to petition the legislature and get the laws changed. Prior to that time, that there wasn't an opportunity for merger. Liquidation was the only answer, which would mean that, all of the reserves and things would have to be distributed out, the loans sold, the deposits sold. So he was actually able to get the law changed and allow mergers and put together the largest single merger at that time of credit unions actually in the country when we merged the 12 into one. And that one was the Appleton Community Credit Union, which then very quickly became known as Appleton Area Credit Union. And it was the foundation for Community First. So a long story, but I think a really cool story. It speaks to innovation. It speaks to tenacity, as you said, Rick, not allowing the answer no, but finding a way. And it's kind of the underpinnings of that's our tagline, if you will. That's the motto we live by, is we'll find a way. And he certainly did find a way. It was pretty special.
So the name change came about then after with all what you walked us through the history there, and you settled on Community First Credit Union. And I know you were part of that decision. Could you maybe give the insight to the listeners of why Community First?
Absolutely. We changed the name back in 1983. I was the marketing person at the time, but we were quite intentional about it. Community is our foundation, and we saw ourselves not just as a financial institution, but as a community of member owners. That's the cooperative spirit, the cooperative model. And the idea is working together for financial well-being and mutual support. First is a priority word, right? It emphasized that community was always going to come first before profits or outside interests. The community of our member owners and the communities where they live, work, and worship. And we wanted a name that would be not constraining, because as we were getting ready to go to Neenah Menasha and the other surrounding communities, we didn't think Appleton area would play very well if we were, located in Menasha. So that was part of the thought process. But, I think it really came together to signal that the community of our member owners and the places they call home are at the heart of everything that we do. And that by putting people first, we could build something much stronger together. And we're very proud of the name. It means a lot to us. It's also a huge responsibility, kind of living up to it on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, we're at the point where we're going to take our first break. You're listening to Biztalk with SCORE and WHBY. I'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Biztalk with SCORE on WHBY. I'm Rick Sentz, and I'm along with Terry Pinch this week. He's co-driving and co-piloting the craft known as Biztalk with SCORE on WHBY. And we have a special guest today. That's Cathie Tierney from Community First Credit Union. But we're going to get back to Cathie in just a moment. First, I want to just take a moment to talk to you about SCORE. SCORE Northeast Wisconsin serves an 18-county area in Northeast Wisconsin. Also serves the county of Menominee in Michigan. We have over 50 volunteers, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, human resources, retail best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost confidential mentoring session and or to learn more about SCORE Northeast Wisconsin, please visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, a SCORE mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And to support small business people, SCORE Northeast Wisconsin is always looking for mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, click on the volunteer button and fill out the short application, and we'll get back to you to explain more. Thanks again for joining us this morning on Biztalk, and now back to you, Terry.
Okay, Cathie, about 20 years after the credit union was founded, you became the CEO. That was a huge step. What motivated you to take that step?
You're not wrong, Terry. It was a huge step, and it's an interesting journey. You know, I started as a teller and a receptionist back in 1976. It was a job, right? I didn't really know what a credit union was, but I learned quickly over time that this was a place that people really mattered, and it was such a driving force to be able to make a difference for people, help them achieve, their dreams, as well as help them out of interesting dynamic spots, right? When they didn't manage their finances so well. I had so much to learn. And I was only one person out of 6 employees back in the day. There were 6 of us. But over the course of time, I had the gift of being able to gain firsthand experience in almost every area of the credit union, especially as we started building branches and things like that. The reality is, though, I never had an overarching desire to be the president. I loved working for the founder, Maury Driesing. I loved working for the team. It was fun. I learned so much, and we grew, and things were great. And then one day he decided to announce that within a 2-year time frame, he was going to retire. And it was at that moment that it was kind of like, wow, okay, he's going to retire. I really like working for him. Do I want to work for somebody else? Could I maybe do this? And that question led to, I guess, where I am today. With a little bit of encouragement and a lot of hard work, I set off to work and went out to California to the Stanford School of Business and took all kinds of credit union related business courses and things of that nature, and vied for the position, and ultimately the board of directors selected me. So quite humbling, but a little odd. Sometimes people have a very firm path that they're following, and they understand, here's where I want to be. I don't know that I ever felt that, and certainly with Maury's announced retirement, I knew how much I loved the organization. I loved our mission, service, people, purpose, and those lessons, from the very beginning have stuck with me and still guide me today. And I think they're why I stay at this. 30 plus years in now. I'll celebrate my 48th anniversary with the credit union on October 1st. So it's pretty amazing.
So on your first day as CEO, were there any nerves?
Oh, that's such a great question. It's funny. I mean, I was 37 years old, I think, and I was named EVP, Executive Vice President, and had an opportunity to work really closely with Maury that last year before he retired. So you kind of think to yourself, hey, I've got this. I know the business. I know the people. I know what. I don't know that anything could have prepared me for what it felt like on December 31st. There were a gathering of us in Maury's office as he was getting ready to say goodbye. And when he handed me those keys, it sounds weird, but I don't think anything could have prepared me for all of a sudden the enormity of the responsibility. The responsibility of, thousands of families and member owners who are relying on us, and also the responsibility for the team, our employees and their families. And, all of a sudden you don't feel like so, on top of everything. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to mess this up. But, it's been a wonderful journey, not without lots of bumps and challenges, but I feel very blessed all these years in. So.
Okay, great. We are going to take our second break. You're listening to Biztalk with SCORE on WHBY. I'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biztalk with SCORE. Thank you for joining us this week. We are talking to Cathie Tierney, CEO of Community First Credit Union. Before we get back to Cathie, I have a couple quick educational updates for you. First of all, a reminder of our conference coming up on September 22nd. It's Accelerate Your Business for Women 25. It's in Wisconsin Dells, and it features speakers, presentations, breakout, networking opportunities to help women business owners and men as well understand some of the current issues they should be thinking about. It's $85, and you can go to score.org/Northeast Wisconsin and click on the tab with the information about the event and register there. It's been well received the last 2 years. It's our third year that SCORE Wisconsin has been doing this, and I hope you can attend and learn a lot from it. The other thing I'm going to mention very quickly is because it keeps coming up from clients, and it's just really important. We get a lot of questions about how do you use QuickBooks, because new businesses are trying to start their accounting. Well, if you go to that score.org/Northeast Wisconsin site, and there's an events and workshops tab right near the top, if you click on there, you can do searches both locally and nationally for online events. And there's one coming up on September 11th, which is QuickBooks training. And they happen all the time too. So if and they're free, most of them are free. So if you want to learn if QuickBooks makes sense for you, take advantage of that. Again, score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And it's workshops and events tab. So with that, Rick, I'm going to turn it back to you.
All righty. Thanks, Terry. Cathie, I just think this is a really important question. Having worked for you, you've had a lot of success. The credit union has been very successful these many years, and the team has done their best to make that happen. But Community First is much larger than it used to be. How do you stay small and still very connected to your members and employees despite the remarkable growth that you've had over these 50 years?
Rick, that is the biggest challenge I would say that I face on a day-to-day basis, because it matters so much. When you think about it, starting with this organization at its very beginning, the auspices of Community First under the Appleton Community Credit Union back in 1975, less than $1 million in assets. Today, we're $6.5 billion in assets, serving, 162,000 member owners here in northeastern Wisconsin from 26 locations. And I think about beginning it with 6 employees, and now we have 600. So the idea in my mind, though, is it's got to be a key focus. We have 3 things when we hire somebody here. It's our employee experience, our member experience, and growth comes third. It's always been that way. I've never been a person who looked at growth for growth's sake. Oh, we want to get to this number or that number. It's just taking care of people. And if you take good care of your employees, they will take great care of your members, and growth will happen. And I think it's such a point of pride, but it's like a knife to the heart when I talk with a member, and I do talk with members every single day. And I encourage them, if they're having a challenge or an issue with us, if we haven't provided the kind of service we needed to, that's a gift that we need to hear from them, right? I mean, they can vote with their feet and their wallets, I'd much rather have the opportunity to make it right. And when I hear somebody say, oh, you're so big, we never want people to think about us in that respect. I mean, certainly big enough to be able to offer a full range of products and services and the best of technology, but staying small isn't about size. It's about how we show up every day for people, and remembering that behind every single account is a person with a story, and behind every transaction is a chance to make somebody's day brighter, make their life better. We stay small by staying very connected. I mentioned answering the phones with real people. Every one of those decisions, I think, helps to drive to this. And by listening and caring and never forgetting that we're a community of member owners, if we hold on to that, it's my hope that no matter how large we become, we'll always feel like family. And it's something I work diligently on because it means everything to me. So I appreciate the question, because that's what we have to do, right?
Yeah. Okay. I know that you're very transparent at Community First with the numbers with staff, and you share everything from expenses to performance numbers, and you've done that throughout your entire time as CEO. Why are you so committed to sharing at that level of detail with the staff at the credit union?
Early on in my career, I read a very impactful book. We all learn from others. And it was Jack Stack and the Great Game of Business. And his premise was, that if you really want your team to function as best they can, they need to understand how the business works. And I share openly with our team because I believe that transparency builds trust. It turns information into empowerment. And it's certainly a reminder that this is not my business, my credit union. It's ours together. Transparency has been one of the hallmarks of my leadership because I always believe that people deserve to know what drives our business. You can be told to do something as an employee. If you don't have a good understanding of why and what's behind it, it's hard to buy into it, right? Or especially if you're faced with specific questions or pushback, if you don't understand the why behind it, how can you really operate as effectively as you'd like to? So when we share, we're not just giving numbers, we're giving context, we give purpose and trust, and it really makes our employees true partners, aligned around a common mission. So it's not just, to me, a leadership practice. It's really a sign of respect, too. We hire people every day to come and be a part of our team, our family. They're fully formed human beings and adults, right? And we need to, I believe, share that information. It's so incredibly powerful, and it can inspire, and it's just helped us be the organization we are.
And I know for decades now that you've had measurements that the Community First has been subjected to, and you consistently have ranked in the top as one of the top performing credit unions in the country. To what do you attribute that success?
I attribute it to dogged focus. It's about learning and understanding how your business runs and what makes you different. There's so many different ways. You guys know you help businesses understand this. There's so many different ways to arrive at an endpoint, your desired goal. Some organizations, they drive everything on the margin. How much margin can they make? Others, do it by, they're totally digital. They don't have branches, and, everybody picks their lane. Ours has always been driven by relationships and the depth of relationship, management, I guess. So we don't win on the margin. We have one of the lowest, net interest margins of any credit union in the country. I think we're in the first percentile, but we're in the 100th percentile for our financial success overall. And that's because, we really believe in the power of the cooperative. So if we can entreat people to do business with us, and the majority of their business with us, right? Their deposits, their loans, their other services, it really results in a positive impact to all of us. And that's the thing. We're a not-for-profit financial cooperative, but I always have held that nobody wants to own a business that isn't profitable, right? But it's a question of what do you do with those profits, and the gift of the credit union is that the profits are returned to all. I was very proud for the 17th year in a row. Just last week, we received what's called the Radin Crystal Performance Award, and we're the only credit union in the United States who's won the award every single year. And we do it not on the backs of, not on the backs of people. We have one of the best expense ratios. It's not because we're not having nice facilities or paying our people well or providing the kinds of services our members need. We just understand the benefit of the relationship management. Over 55% of our accounts would be considered profitable. In a regular financial institution, it would be very rare to achieve even 40%. There's always a level of subsidization. But for us, we've crossed sort of that magic threshold, and we have more people who are profitable than are not, which enables us to do so much more. Because again, as a cooperative, we're in it together, and not only holding each other up and helping each other, but the things we can do in the community as a result with our combined effort is pretty spectacular. We're very, very proud of that as well.
And you brought up the community, and can you maybe talk about the difference that has made at Community First Credit Union in the community and then even in the industry? How has that give back to the community been impactful?
I think it's a hallmark of who we are, our success. It's so critically important. We all live and have to benefit from the places, that we choose to set up our businesses. We have our lives. Early on, I used to admire when I first started in our business, our locally owned banks. We had Valley Bank, for an example, strong, helpful, friendly. They were locally owned institutions started by people right here in our community for the benefit of helping the community to grow, through funding housing and funding businesses and all those kinds of things. And over the course of time in the pursuit of scale and size, many of those institutions were bought out of existence, merged out of existence, and we have a whole new plethora of financials who do wonderful work, don't get me wrong, but because they're not headquartered here in northeastern Wisconsin, it's very difficult to get them to understand or support, the work of the community through nonprofits, through economic development, all of those kinds of things. We have had the great good fortune to kind of step into that void. And one of the things I've learned without a doubt over the course of years is it's in giving that we receive. And oftentimes for businesses, that's a little hard to understand. Well, what do you mean you want me to donate to this or do that? What I can tell you is our focus in that regard has paid dividends greater than I could ever count. Our commercial lending portfolio, which is just over $2 billion right now, is a result of our community outreach and community impact and work. We've never advertised. We don't have commission salespeople out on the street. But when I'm standing in line at the YMCA breakfast, and I'm talking to a business owner who's like, "Hey, do you do commercial loans?" Absolutely. It's really been, that kind of organic opportunity for us. And I'm a firm believer. I'll have to, when I retire, teach a course someday on the concept of, giving and how good it is for business. Doing good, comes back to you in multiple ways. And I think it helps our members feel proud of it too. Maybe individually they can't do as much, but collectively it's really incredible what we've been able to accomplish. More than $2+ million a year in support of the community and our economic development organizations, our nonprofits, housing, Habitat for Humanity, those kinds of things. Our members feel good about it, and they enable us to do it, because without them, it wouldn't happen. So
I have to ask you, you've been CEO for a while now. Is being CEO easier today than it was 15 years ago?
It is not. I can say that unequivocally. Now, I don't know, maybe that's just a reflection on me, but I still feel like I've got so much to learn. And if we're all honest, we think about the trajectory of life, and especially the difference that technology has made in our lives. When I first started out and think about mimeograph machines, and there weren't cell phones, there wasn't the internet, there weren't any of those things, little pink memo pads. Life changes pretty quickly, and I think, I don't have the stats at hand, but when you look at the difference that technology has made, and the changes that it's foisted upon us, today we have a whole generation of young people who don't know what life was like before the internet, and now we've got questions about AI and new currencies, Bitcoin, stablecoin, all of the impact of the political realm, and what happens when different organizations and groups are in power, and the changes that foist upon us. It makes every day an adventure. So no, I would say it's not easier. Just saying that, though, doesn't mean that it doesn't still mean the world, that it brings a lot of joy. And the reality is, what we do today why we do what we do today is not any different than when Maury first started with his group at the Outagamie County Highway Department. How we do it, immensely different. But why hasn't changed at all. And I feel so blessed to have had the opportunity to be here from almost the very beginning and understand how that business came to be, and to be able to say that what we do is pretty much the same. How we do it, has changed exponentially, but there is a lot to be said with the benefit of 48 years of hindsight in the idea of consistency, of resilience and persistence, all of those kinds of things. So
I have to ask you this question. You've always been a lifelong learner since I've known you. What one or two lessons in the time that we have left in this segment would you be willing to share with folks that impacted you the most?
Oh my goodness. There are things that happen to you, I think, in your life and your career where at the moment they're happening, you feel so blindsided, and it's just hard to even comprehend how to get through things. But with the benefit, again, of hindsight, being able to step back and say, okay, that's the lesson. And I think it's always about the lesson. I've had litigation issues early in my career that I was totally unprepared for, but with the benefit of working through things and wonderful support networks, you step back and try to say, all right, what am I supposed to learn here, and how can I take what happened to me and learn from it so that I can continue to grow and make sure that potentially it doesn't happen again, right? We all have those opportunities every single day. And, if I could, looking back, do anything differently, I'd probably stop and celebrate a little bit more. I'm known for always kind of pushing to say, what's next. So stop and celebrate along the way, and maybe lean on others sooner. Oftentimes as leaders, we think we have to know it all, right? being able to reach out and get counsel. And I mean, that's what's so beautiful about SCORE, the benefit of all those years of experience and the different people you get to meet who've understood and kind of walked a mile in your shoes. So to reach out and ask for help. And then, when I think about it, there's not a whole lot I'd change other than that, because the tough lessons shape us just as much as the beautiful lessons do. So, every experience, every success, every stumble, and there were many, is a part of, what built us to who we are today, what made me who I am today. And I'm just very grateful for the opportunity.
Okay. We are going to take our final break. You're listening to Biztalk with SCORE. We're talking to Cathie Tierney, one of the great business leaders in this region. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biztalk. Thank you for joining us. I just want to thank you again for listening in this month. We are doing a special series of shows on women in business in the area, and we're really thankful Cathie Tierney could join us this week. We'd also like to thank our sponsors and donors. We couldn't present Biztalk without their generous support. So thank you to Hailing & Associates. Hailing & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for the future. Hailing & Associates, personal connection, positive results. Thank you to Johnson Financial Group. Wherever you are in the life of your business or your own life, Johnson Financial Group works to understand your goals and match the banking and wealth services needed to help you complete your mission. Thanks to the Business News for promoting our program, the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. The paper contains relevant and useful information about the business community in the region. We would also like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation to Biztalk and SCORE in Northeast Wisconsin. And a new thank you this week is to New North, the Regional Marketing and Economic Development Corporation, for their promotion of SCORE. We've just started working with them in terms of doing some joint promotion, and the New North is a group that facilitates economic growth and helps people in this region live their best lives. So thank you to Barb and the New North organization for helping us within SCORE. And with that, Rick, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thanks, Terry. And our guest this morning for listeners is Cathie Tierney. She's president and CEO of Community First Credit Union. And if you're just joining us, make sure you check out our podcast because you've missed a great conversation so far. Cathie, I just guess we'll wrap up here with the end of the show here with what's next up for Community First Credit Union?
We have many things in line for Community First, but as we worked with our board of directors, most recently to define our next chapter and our multi-year strategic plan, one of the things that came to the top, and it's not like we haven't done this, but we're really redoubling our efforts and our investment in financial wellness. The importance of financial well-being to everybody in our society, but especially for our member owners, to move beyond products to focusing on how we can help people better understand how to manage their financial well-being and financial wellness. It's so critically linked to their physical and emotional health as well, and their relationships with their family and coworkers and friends. So we're doubling down. Great partnership with Junior Achievement Wisconsin. More to come on how we're continuing to grow that, and also providing that time and effort and focus for our own employees, so they are in better positions to help our member owners. Another focus too is the sort of reboot of our products and services and looking at, new and relevant products and services that really span the generations, right? So as we talked about earlier, we have a whole plethora of young people who only know what the world is like today with digital and things like that, and helping to design products and services that really meet their needs and make us relevant in their eyes. Fraud fraud prevention, fraud education is huge, huge, huge for all of us, not only in this industry, but, just across our life today. And those are just, along with branches, those are, we're expanding into Manitowoc and Ledgeview and other places. So, we'll continue our expansion in northeastern Wisconsin. We're very regionally focused, and that is our intent on a go-forward basis. So.
All right. Are you having fun?
Am I having fun? Of course I'm having fun. Not every day is fun, but when you boil it all down, I think what motivates me today is knowing that the work I do, that we get to do together, still matters, and that Community First is a place that still finds a way. And, we're writing a story that I hope will live long after any one of us. And, you get to this point in your career, 48 years in, I'm going for 50 for sure. And it's a wonderful opportunity to reflect, and you start to think about, well, what do you want your legacy to be? And that's important to me, that our organization continues to thrive and grow and make a difference for people. So, we want to leave a legacy of service and innovation for generations to come. So,
all right.
I'm having fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Cathie, and thank you for joining us on Biztalk. Check out the podcast if you want to pick up on this episode or previous episodes, and we'll catch you next week.